Finding a remote job in 2025 isn't as easy as people make it sound. With more competition than ever, I've had to completely rethink my job search strategy. And today I'm sharing what's working and what's not. Hey, I'm Jamie and I just got laid off. But instead of jumping back into a traditional job, I'm going to be taking a different route, trying to land a remote job that I can do anywhere, whilst also trying to launch my very own business. I'm going to be sharing you my journey unfiltered. Today, I want to break down my exact approach of how I'm trying to land a remote job in 2025, what platforms I'm using, the strategies that work, and the biggest mistakes I've already made. Now, a few years ago, remote jobs were rare, and the people that got them were actually already ahead of the curve. But now, since everyone wants to work remotely, the competition is insane. You're no longer just competing locally, you're up against people worldwide. So that means that your application has to stand out. So I've got my laptop here, so let's get started with, first of all, the strategies I'm using to land interviews. So let's first start off with the platforms I'm using to land this remote job. So there are so many remote-based job boards out there. For example, We Work Remotely, FlexJobs, even LinkedIn have a remote feature that you can filter on. And my partner has also created a PDF document that details all of the different job boards that you can apply to for remote-based and worldwide-based companies. So be sure to check my description to have a look at that link. So using these job boards, you can actually categorize which departments that you want to work in, such as sales and marketing, customer service or support. You can also filter based on location. So are you looking to get a job within that country that you're currently based? Or there's also a filter for anywhere or location independent. So that's really for remote-based businesses that operate worldwide or at least employ worldwide too. Sometimes on these job boards, it actually shows you how many applicants have currently either clicked or applied on the job role. Now, don't let that put you off. The whole idea here is that you want to still put in the effort to apply because you're going to try and stand out in that application. And I've got a couple of strategies on how you can do that. Now, what I also like to do is keep a log and track of all of the different jobs that I'm applying to. Simply put together a spreadsheet, use a couple of different columns of the job board that you're currently applying on, the date that you applied on, the title, the compensation package, any need to know notes, any benefits perhaps. That way, you're not just relying on the one job board that you're applying to with the saves and the application tabs. Because you're using loads of different job boards and you're applying to so many roles, these will get lost. So when you actually get replies and messages back for interviews, you want to easily be able to find that job description that you applied to so you can prepare better for that interview. So as you can see, I just simply color code my spreadsheet. Red means I've had a reply and they've rejected me. Either it's an auto reply, not taking my application further, or that they've got other candidates that best suit the role. And don't be deterred, it's normal to get a lot of these. Now, if I actually land any first round interviews from that initial submission, I also highlight them green, just so I have a place that I can refer back to easily get to that job description. It also helps just to keep on top of numbers as well. How many applications am I sending out today? Are you keeping yourself accountable? Do you have a goal set for yourself of how many you want to apply to each day? And as these colors come in of both red and green, you can see how successful your efforts are. If you're just getting reds, then something needs to change. You've got to try a different approach. You need to stand out more in your application. Now, relying simply on job boards and cold outreach to job applications is difficult. It's not impossible. I've literally landed every single one of my roles based on cold outreach. However, you should also use the support of your network. Now, depending on how long you've been working for, you would have built up a lot of connections along the way. Perhaps it's old colleagues that you used to work with. Perhaps it's fellow students at your university or school that are now working in a particular job or field that you're interested in. Now you need to leverage these connections that you have. As you can see for myself, I actually put in a column for references or contacts. That's where I list people of, say, my friends, my old work colleagues that I can refer to if they are actually already working for that company. In my example, I've actually got 3. Now, the power of that referral from your old colleague or friend goes a mile. It really does set you apart from other applicants. And often, companies have incentives for referrals. So it actually pays off for your friend or old colleague to actually put your name forward. So it's a win-win. Another strategy that I'm implementing is using video. I'm using short form video to stand out in my applications, which is also helping with my personal branding. I've realized that standard resume just doesn't cut it anymore, and I need to think of another way to stand out in that pile. And this is where video really works. Now, as soon as I actually started putting video in my applications, I was able to track how many views I was getting on that videos. I was able to also see whether this was working, and you would not believe the results. Hiring managers were actually coming back to me saying what an amazing video that was, how it stood out amongst all the other applications that they got. So if you're interested in learning more on personal branding, how to create this short form video and implement it into your resume as a call to action, be sure to check out a course I created called Standout Videos. I'll also link that in the description below. So what's not working so you can actually avoid these mistakes that I'm making? Now, it goes without saying, when you see that easy apply button on LinkedIn, it's always like, hallelujah. You could just submit an application in less than 60 seconds. However, relying on that method where you're just doing mass output without any form of personalization, whether it's on your resume, whether it's using a short form video, this will rack up the numbers of the amount of applications you're sending out, but it's kind of like a spray and pray approach. You're really just praying that you're going to get some responses from all of these mass applications you're sending out. Employers want to see that you put a bit of effort, a bit of work in for them. Often you'll see some employers asking a number of different questions to help get an idea of yourself, help them understand whether you would get a good fit in that initial outreach. So a quick tip for that one, it's quality over quantity. Always prioritize jobs that you're genuinely interested in for companies that you actually want to work for. And trust me, it's easier to apply to those jobs and put the extra effort in there if you actually want to work for them. Now, as I mentioned before, if you're only solely relying on job boards, it's going to be a long road. Definitely leverage any kind of connection or network that you have in order for them to put in a good word for you to get yourself noticed at the top of that pile. And thirdly, what you want to avoid is being shy, is not putting yourself out there to say that you are looking for work. Every time I go on LinkedIn and I see a message or a post of someone being laid off, I am always astonished with how much reactions and comments that these people are getting. People sympathize. People are human at the end of the day. And to see other people struggling is not nice. And you will get support from your community to prop you up, to raise awareness, to show that you are currently looking for work. So this will also put yourself on the radar to hiring managers and recruiters. So again, don't be shy. Put yourself out there and you'll be surprised with the results that you get. Okay, now let's talk about resumes. There's 2 particular formats you can follow with this, either PDF or Word document. Now, I usually lean more onto the PDF side of things, and I like to be creative with my resume. I have also seen a lot of examples where they just have plain text, no picture, and keep the formatting very straightforward and plain. So this can really help with the application tracking system to scan and obviously put your resume forward. However, I like to believe that hiring managers are looking at resumes. So I also add a bit of color in there, usually matching the company's branding, as well as some infographics just to make it look a bit more visually appealing. Now, the standard format is usually 1 page, so if you can fit all of your experience on 1 page, that's even better, but you can also have 2 pages as well. For my example, I have a lot of experience, so I can only actually put it onto 2 pages. Now, the next part is crucial. You need to be using keywords in your resume. Why do you need to include keywords? Because you have an ATS algorithm, robot, whatever you want to call it, which is short for application tracking system, that is actually scanning your resume for the keywords that actually match the job description. So it's more likely that you're going to get your resume seen by a potential recruiter or employer. So a simple trick with this is basically getting your job description and then copy and pasting those keywords into your messaging of your resume. Now, you really want to highlight remote ready skills as well. Things like self-motivation, communication, and time management, obviously. And you also want to showcase your tech proficiency. So things like you're comfortable using Slack, Zoom, Notion, and other project management tools. Now, a pro tip, there is actually a website called jobscan.io, which actually scans your resume according to a job description and gives you the thumbs up if it's okay. Now, you also want to be using a remote-friendly format. And what I mean by that is you want to be highlighting the times where you have worked fully remote from your past employers, or maybe hybrid, or that you're also accustomed to async working. And what that means is that you are actually working with your colleagues in different time zones. So with that comes its own challenges, such as you might not always have instant responses from your colleagues. Often companies leverage things like videos such as Loom, screen shares to actually get some messages across so they can check it in their own time according to their time zone. Obviously, if you have worked for any other remote companies, you want to put the experience that you have and the amount of months or years that you've worked for those companies too. Now, on my example, I am obviously using video as a forefront to get in front of recruiters. So you really want to have a call to action to be able to easily get that recruiter to go to your video. Or perhaps you have other projects, anything like personal websites, creative portfolios that you want to share. You also want to include them on your resume too. Now, another big mistake I often see is that you're just simply labeling or listing your job duties rather than the achievements or results that your work brought. So for instance, instead of something like I manage social media accounts, you want to say something like I increased engagement by 40% over 3 months using a data-driven content strategy. Numbers simply help make you stand out and showcase all of your achievements. Now, you want to leverage your LinkedIn profile. Did you know that nearly 80% of job listings aren't even listed? You want to optimize your LinkedIn profile, make sure that you have a professional headshot, make sure you have a professional banner, and also enable the open to work option as well. That'll help identify you to recruiters that you are actually looking for work right now. Now, you can also engage with hiring managers, comment on any posts that they list. You can even directly message them as well to show interest in the role. That really shows that you're going one step further wanting that job. Now, as I'm using a spreadsheet to track all of my applications, another handy tip is putting in a date on when you actually submit an application. This is handy because after a week or 2 weeks, you can actually reach out directly to the hiring managers to see the status of your application. You can keep it super short and super simple, basically saying, hi, hiring manager, I applied to a role for a business development representative. I'm excited about the role and the opportunity and would love to discuss further how I can contribute. Let me know if you need any more info. And if you ever get rejected by saying that they've gone forward with another applicant, or maybe you don't have the relevant skills or experience, ask for feedback and say that you would love to stay in the loop for any future possibilities. You'd be surprised, even if you apply for the same job 3 times over, you can actually still get that job. So if you're also trying to look for a remote job right now, drop a comment below. What's been your biggest struggle so far? I'll be sharing more of my journey in the next videos, including interviews, rejections, and hopefully job offers. So subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see how this journey unfolds. I'll also be sharing with you more tips along the way, and be sure to like this video and share it to anyone else who you feel could do with this advice. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers. So I've got my laptop here. Let's get to it and look into the strategies I'm using to get interviews. That was so not smooth.